celebrity televangelist wanted by both US and Philippine authorities for child sex trafficking. Apollo Quiboloy surrendered to police after a 2-week search of his 30-hectare estate in the city of Davao. He and 4 co-accused are set to stand trial in Manila for child abuse, sexual abuse and human trafficking. Philippine authorities say they are not currently looking to extradite the preacher to the United States. DW's Ana Santos reported from the Philippines for many years for us. It's good to see you, Ana. Tell us, who is Apollo Quiboloy and how did he end up wanted by US authorities?
Preacher and the founder of a church called the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. He calls himself the appointed son of God and has over 7 million followers all over the world. Now, it was about 2018 when he was traveling from Hawaii to the Philippines on his private plane when U.S. authorities held him. They found allegedly rifle parts and some $350,000 in cash stuffed in socks. And that kind of like tripped the alarm for monitoring Apollo Quiboloy and who he was. Then that led to those accusations that you have already listed. There's a long list of child abuse, sex trafficking of children, fraudulent marriages, and eventually fraudulent visas. Allegedly, he was bringing Filipinos over to the U.S. them to solicit cash for bogus charities that he had run. Cash for bogus charities that he had run.
Now, we've heard police have been in a 2-week standoff with his followers at the vast church compound where he's based. I'm curious to know how he managed to hide from authorities for so long.
Well, for a long time, under the administration of President Rodrigo Duterte, Quiboloy was considered untouchable. Both of them are from Davao, and he was kind of like a favored or a friend of President Rodrigo Duterte. That's actually how Quiboloy also became very popular. He was endorsing a lot of political candidates, and in the Philippines, endorsement by a religious leader is seen as a vote for that person, and it's also a very powerful tool to get more voters also in.
Now, you've encountered one of his alleged victims. What was that like? Tell us about that.
I was on assignment in the Middle East and Qatar at the time, and I was covering labor migration issues when a child had come up to me and started speaking to me in Filipino, asking me for money. So it was a little surreal. I was overseas and I said, "Oh, do I hear Filipino?" And the person that I was interviewing was from a rights group, a migrant rights group, and he said, "Yeah, that's a Filipino, and those are the children that are being brought over by Quiboloy to beg for money, and the money is funneled back to him." So this is when we see now the allegations of child trafficking that Quiboloy is accused of, and how he uses the children, the young women and girls also that he has trafficked to ask them to beg for money that he uses for himself.
Now, you already mentioned it. Quiboloy also has links to former President Duterte. How did he manage to get so close to power?
He was the spiritual advisor of former President Rodrigo Duterte. And as I mentioned, in the Philippines, an endorsement by a religious leader is a valuable election tool. And he has over 7 million followers. He has a YouTube channel. He knows how to use social media also for his popularity and his preaching. So that's how he became popular with the public, and therefore also became popular with political candidates who wanted to curry his favor to get votes.
Anna, thank you so much for your insights. That's DW's Ana Santos.
Sugar. Let it storm, let it thunder.
Apollo Quiboloy's legal counsel is urging the Philippine government to let local courts handle his cases first before deciding to send him to the United States. Lawyer Israelito Torion says they have yet to receive an official document proving that there's indeed an extradition request for the delivery of Quiboloy to the U.S. If the reports are true, Torion says they respect the prerogative of the U.S. government to make such a move for the extradition treaty between Washington and Manila. However, he cites Article 11 of the treaty, saying that it's within the discretion of the requested state whether to extradite Quiboloy. Torion says this is considering that Quiboloy already has pending cases in the country. Article 11 specifically states if a person is being prosecuted or serving a sentence, the extradition can be temporarily arranged, wherein the person will be returned to the requested state. The article also says the requested state can choose to delay extradition until the person's prosecution or sentence is completed. Torion says their camp hopes the Philippine government will exercise its sovereign option to try his client's case in its jurisdiction first before deciding whether to transfer him to the U.S. He likewise acknowledges that under Article 9 of the treaty, the U.S. can even request the provisional arrest of Quiboloy. But Torion points out that a request for provisional arrest might not be necessary. He notes the lack of urgency since Quiboloy is still detained at the Pasig City Jail, awaiting the resolution of his motion for consideration on the denial of his bail petition. Philippine Ambassador to the U.S. Jose Manuel Romualdez earlier confirmed that the U.S. is seeking to extradite Quiboloy. However, both the Department of Justice and the Department of Foreign Affairs say they have not received the documents. DOJ spokesperson Miko Clavano says that under the regular process, extradition requests should first go through the DFA before they are officially endorsed to the DOJ. For its part, the DFA also clarified that Foreign Affairs Secretary Maria Teresa Lazaro did not receive the U.S. extradition request for Quiboloy. Quiboloy is facing separate criminal charges of human trafficking before Pasig City Court and sexual abuse before Quezon City Court. He was indicted by a federal grand jury in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California for conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking by force, fraud and coercion in sex trafficking of children, conspiracy, and bulk cash smuggling.